Hi everyone, welcome to Good for the Game TV, and this is our special preview of the GBets Gauteng Summer Cup that's taking place on Saturday over 2,000 meters. It's a Grade 1 event, and it's a runoff at 4:45 on the 1st of December, that Saturday afternoon at Turfontein. It's one of the big races of the year. If you're one of those once, twice, or three times a year punters, this is one of the races you'll want to get involved in. And we're here to preview that with you. I've got a racing expert on the line, and he joins me now. He's also in Johannesburg. We're probably just sitting a few kilometers apart. And Jason Dedekind, good to have you on the show.
How's it, Brent? Yeah, very good to be back on Good for the Game in terms of podcasts and that. I mean, I've had a couple of years absence, but it's a privilege and a pleasure to be here. I wouldn't call myself an expert. You know, in punting these days, you can't, anybody that calls themselves an expert, very high opinion of themselves, but we're going to try and lead the punters in the right direction. Obviously, a little bit of banter for your website. I follow it often. Obviously, I don't post too much, but I do follow the guys on there. I particularly look at the golf previews, the rugby previews, and the soccer previews. Obviously, being a sportsman myself, you know, when you asked me to do this, I jumped at the chance. It's nice to be sort of back in racing. I've been out for a couple of months now, but we'll try and find the punters a few winners for the Sansui, not the Sansui, the GBets. My apologies, Gauteng Summer Cup.
No problem. The sponsors of these races change quite often. And yes, GBets are on board, and I think they've done a great job in marketing the event. Certainly the profile of the Summer Cup seems to be picking up. And just having a look back on the history of the Summer Cup, Jason, I must say I had to go back a few years till I found my last winner, Dance with the Devil in 2011. What's your record like for this race?
No, not so good. I think the last winner I backed might have been Aslan many, many years ago when I was still working for Hollywood and winning form. I think I was the bet master at that in those days, like Charles Pretorius used to call me. And I think I tipped that as my value bet. And that was going back looking at, that was 2009, Brent. I think that was my last winner. I know I tipped, when I joined Phumelela Publishing, I tipped Wagner in 2012, Joey Soma, Muzi Yeni under a lightweight. And then the rest, I mean, Louis the King, Master Sabina, they've obviously won 2014 and Master Sabina 2 years in a row. And then last year, Liege sprung what they called an upset. But, you know, Alistair Cohen backed Liege that day, and he wouldn't have called it an upset. And for the punters out there, I've got one or two of his insights for the main race on Saturday.
Is he calling the race on Saturday?
I'm not sure. It will be him or obviously Nico. And I know that I think Brandon Bailey's also calling a race or two. They sort of split it up throughout the year. So I'm not too familiar with the schedule in terms of who called it last year and that, but it might be a flip of the coin and, you know, a 50-50 split. I'd favor my chances.
Yeah, that's it. I think, and I certainly enjoy it, Alistair calling it, especially if he's on the winner. I can imagine that will be quite a good finish. And Jason, just quickly before we get into the race itself, what you up to? I know you were with Phumelela. We first hooked up at Hollywood when you were known on our forum as Little Woozy with your golf tips. And what are you up to these days?
Yeah, Brent, I left Phumelela in April, and I've just been doing some private consulting work since then. You know, a few different betting outlets have called on me just to have a look at what they do in terms of you know, their betting structures, their percentages, their marketing as such. And I'm really enjoying the we can say the freedom that you know, a non-corporate environment gives you. I've had a lot of time to reflect on family and that, and just enjoying you know, working hard now, obviously coming up to Christmas. There are no holidays in a consultant's life. But yeah, really enjoying what I'm doing. Like I say, just looking at different sports betting outfits and how I can add a bit of value to their enterprise at the moment. So yeah, it's been good. Looking for the next full-time gig, if you can call it, in the new year, obviously. But as it stands now, very happy with where I am. Still follow racing weekly, still follow obviously soccer, cricket, rugby, golf, my passion. So yeah, still very involved in sport. And you know, we banter, my old team and I, daily about the goings on in racing in Gauteng in particular. And you know, it's not easy. You know, racing is a tough sport. It's a sport for the guys with the passion. It's a sport for the guys that want to study. It's for the guys that you know, that have steeped in the history of the game. I mean, we were talking off air about where I started, and I'll just start here. I mean, I was 6 years old when I went to a race course. So my grandfather owned horses. My uncle is the head start in the Western Cape. So racing's been in my blood my whole life. I've been following it since, like I say, 6 years old. I took my first place accumulator when I was 8, obviously through my father's channel. As such, so it's been in my blood. It's what I know, who I am, and I just enjoy studying racing. I'm not a big punter. but I understand what goes on in a punter's head. Obviously doing all that stuff for Hollywood, Gold Circle, Victor Chana when they popped out to the country, and Pumalelo betting world as such. So I pride myself in trying to give the punters out there a lot of value, because I don't believe in backing too many favorites. I believe there is value in a race. So yeah, that's who I am. I'm a guy that likes to study form. I like to be right, and I like to find the value for the punters, because end of the day, the economy in South Africa, we need all those extra rands we can get.
We certainly do. It's certainly a game that I think gets into the blood, because the guys I know have all been involved with racing. They really struggle to get away from it. It really is an exciting sport. I had a brief ownership spell as well, where I was a small shareholder, and I couldn't believe the size of things like vet spills and that were coming through. But it really is a great sport. And I'm going to go straight to the field itself now, Jason, and let's have a look at the betting. I'm going onto the GBets website, because this is, of course, the GBets Summer Cup. So what better place to have a look at the odds? And what this tells me straight away, Jason, I see 5-1 the field here. We've got a wide open field. And is it a high quality field this year?
I think it's a decent field. Obviously, a lot of the guys are, you've got the Sun Met down in the Cape at the end of January. So, trainers up on the Houveld do support the Houveld, but there's a lot of trainers around the country that look to the Western Cape and KZN for their runners to excel. A few of the other guys that are not sure to see out the 2,000 meters, they start prepping for the Queen's Plate and some of the other races down there. So I think the quality of the field is great. I think Coral Fever running off a 120 merit rating shows you that there's no lack of depth in the field. The worrying thing for me with Coral Fever is he's carrying 60, and the next best Cascapedia is carrying 54.5. So there's a bit of a gap in terms of quality, but I think there's a few, I won't say up and coming, because a lot of the horses here are of age, but I still think there's a few that have fluffed their lines in the past and are looking to take home that big Grade 1 check. And I think Mark de Kock's going for his 10th Summer Cup, if I'm not mistaken. I stand to be corrected, and he's got a good big hand in here. I think he's got four or five runners in the race, and I expect them all to be fighting out. So I don't see it as a surprise to be 5-1 the field. As you would have noticed on Facebook during the week, I had my nails done to the mast there in terms of it's my turn, but that's been scratched, unfortunately, not eating up. So I've had to look for a different value in different horses. And there's a lot of muddling collateral form lines. I mean, horses are, they're animals. They have good days, they have bad days. I don't see a lot of pace in the race, and that's my worry about my first selection in terms of Tilbury Fort, currently trading at 5.5 to 1, 11 to 2. But having said that, the run that produced in the Charity Mile with a flying finish, just getting touched off by Coral Fever, and I think there's a slight weight turnaround unless they're running on the same. I think Tilbury Fort will be the horse to beat. But having said that, going back to your original question, is the race full of class? I won't say it's full of class, but I think there's a lot of horses here that need to say, hey, you had high expectations on me. I've got a Grade 1 in me. This is what I can do.
Right, and I see the race is obviously 2,000 meters at Turfontein. If I remember correctly from my days when I followed racing closely, that's quite a stiff 2,000 meters. I mean, how important is the pace going to be, and are we going to see a pace? Will Mark de Kock, for example, send one or two of his runners out to set the gallop?
Yeah, well, that's my concern. If I look through the thing, taking the piece, obviously, was a Triple Tiara hopeful. She won the first two legs of the Triple Tiara last year, and just was a little bit outdone by the pace in finishing fourth behind Secret Potion in the Oaks. Those type of horses need a bit of pace. Like a Panther could go out and sit handy. We're just talking about the de Kock runners here. Cascapedia is. I've tipped Tilbury Fort, but the more I look at the race, Cascapedia is the worthy favourite. I mean, she's done nothing wrong in her 9 starts to date. She's likely raced 5-year-old, daughter of High Chaparral. And I think if there's no pace, I think she's the type of horse that, with Gavin Lorena up, will race handy and, can dictate. Secret Potion came well last time out, beating Cascapedia, but I think Cascapedia will turn the tables there. And then you've got, obviously, Like a Panther from the de Kock Yard 2, third run after arrest. Craig Zaki, draw of 13, come one in after the scratching. I think I think there's been a lot of talk about Like a Panther throughout his young career, and I think he's due a big one. And then over the page, in terms of other runners, Cool Rain from the might be slightly outcast, but this horse was touted as a 3-year-old, or 3 or 4-year-old, as a likely Gold Cup winner. So she might find it a bit short here, but when you've got 5 horses in the race, at least you've got a ticket.
Just mention that one again, Jason. The line just broke up there for a second.
Perfect. I was talking about Kill Rain, number 19 on the card.
The cock horse in the race, eh?
Yes, 100%.
Right. And tell me, Stratum, what's he on?
Stratum is riding a horse called Sabina's Dynasty. Now, Sabina's Dynasty was, let's see what the price is here at GBets, 13 to 1, very decent price. On collateral form, this horse has got a few in the race beat. Striker puts up 1 kg. Horse was carded at 53. He can only get down to 54, so the horse will be carrying 54. This horse is course and distance 2 for 2. So she's run over the Turfontein, stiff 2000, as you put it earlier, and she's won twice. So, 5-year-old mare against this quality of field, this is her toughest test to date. But having said that, she's at the peak of her career. She was running on nicely behind Taking the Peace in the Victory Moon. And with Striker up, you can never discount. So, she's one I've thrown into my pick 6 in that, because I do believe she has a chance. If you look at her exposed form, you can make a case she's run behind not average horses, but horses that are probably just half a step behind these. But having said that, if you take Coral Fever out of the race, then the top rating is 109. So like I said, it's a quality field, but not as quality as it could be. There's a big 11-point gap in the merit rating. So, for me, Sabina's Dynasty has a big chance, especially drawn pole position with Striker up.
It's one of these races, Jason. I mean, when I look at my pick 6 on these big race days, which I generally do, and you see a race betting 5 to 1 the field, you've almost got to take a call. Am I going to go for perhaps a banker, take a chance and try to pick up a result elsewhere, or am I going to go wide? And from what you're telling me, you're going to include a few in your pick 6.
Yeah, I'm going to include a few. I'm going to take 2 pick 6s. Obviously, on days like this, there's 2 things that happen. Favorites arrive, or it's rockets of results. So I'll take 2 pick 6s. I'll take one for 200 Rand and just play around the favorites here and there and try and take quite a high percentage. And then I'll spend 100 or 150 Rand on, say, a 1 or 2% pick 6 and hopefully catch the pool. A lot of these open bet bookmakers have upped their ante. So for guys that are looking to support their normal bookmaker, it helps. But obviously, every bet on the tote helps. Everything that goes through the tote comes back into racing, and it refunds racing. So, it all works in a vicious cycle. The bookmakers support racing through advertising. Racing supports the owners, supports the horse. So, wherever you're going to take your bet, I think taking two pick 6s, one a decent percentage with your own fancies and throwing in most of the favorites will stand you in good stead. And then, like I do, I normally I'm a small punter, so I like taking 1 and 2% pick 6s and having an interest. And invariably on these big days, there's a big payout.
No, that's for sure. So just to come back to your fancy for the actual race, so it's Tilbury Fort at 11 to 2. That would be your win only bet. Yeah,
well, that's what I'm going for, Tilbury Fort. I think Tilbury Fort's a great price, and like I said, I was very buoyed by the fact that he ran on so nicely in the Charity Mile. I have spoken to a few people, and they are concerned about the distance. Does he stay? But I say that he stays. He was gelded in March, and since then his record has been impeccable. He's had 2 wins, 2 seconds, and then I won't say a dismal run in the July, because the July, Vodacom Durban July, is always one of those races. You have a peach of a run, or you run near the back of the field. And he was one of the fastest 400 finishes around a tight gravel circuit. I think Tilbury Fort, now that I'm looking more and more on this, if there's any evidence of a pace out there, I think Tilbury Fort will be hard to beat. So yeah, in my big pick 6, I'll be going quite wide, including the likes of Coral Fever, Cascapedia, Secret Potion, Sabina's Dynasty, even Dawn Assault, Social Order, you can make a case for. V. Mudley, betting executive for Pumalela. I asked him the question what he likes for the race, and he said to me, Dedekind 1, 2, 3, and those 3 were Cascapedia, Noble Secret, and Like a Panther. But having said that, I don't think I don't think he would leave out a horse like Taking the Peace and Tilbury Fort if he was taking his own bet. And, going through in terms of value, in terms of place money, there's a horse I had my eye on, and our expert caller and a good friend of mine, Alistair Cohen, sent me a WhatsApp earlier. I asked him the question. I said, I'm going on Good for the Game tonight. Please give the punters a bet for the day. And he came back with a tote place bet, obviously, and you can take it on the bookies. So GBets, you can have a go. Deo Javante, top 6. Now, if I agree with him wholeheartedly. This horse's merit ratings come down. It's now running off 102. Obviously, the draws are a problem at 16, but draw a line through his last run. I mean, that run behind Taking the Peace, slow and not striding out, excuses. You go behind that Fort Ember, Splendid Gardens, horse seems to run in snatches and run well in big races. So I'll be throwing Deo Javante in. And then you're looking at some of the pundits from Teletrack in terms of what they've been tipping on social media. A horse like Cash Time has also been popping up as lightweight and a good chance. So like you said earlier, you either nail your colors to the mask and go light with the horses like Tilbury Fort and Cascapedia. Those will be my first 2 selections. Or you go wide. I'm going to do the former in my small one and the latter in my 1%er.
Excellent, Jason. Thanks very much. And of course, this is just one race, though, on a card full of races. It's a big race day, Turfontein. Certainly encourage people to get down there if they can. Anything else you like on the card? I did get a few of your selections via WhatsApp, which I have put on a little bit of a slide. I'll bring that up now while you're chatting.
Perfect, yeah, and Brent. Obviously, there's loads of things for punters to have a bet on. Punters are creatures of habit. So some punters love quartets, some punters love pick sixes, PAs, and all the rest of it. So have a look at the betting menu, see what races suit you. Race 1's obviously a quartet maxi pool. Estimated pool 700,000. There's bar pots, there's pick sixes. The pick 6 pool is estimated to get to 7.5 million. Now, we talk about lotto, we talk about all the big life-changing events. You take a pick 6 for small money, just put your personal fancies in. Don't worry about what a few others say. That can change your life. So, I'll be definitely having a pick 6 and having a bet. And just touching on my selections, my first best bet of the day comes in race 2. Doesn't take any rocket science to choose what it is. It's Mythical Bolt. It's 7-20, quite short in the betting. But punters out there will be looking for things just to add value in terms of their single outlays. I'm just trying to get to the page in terms of Mythical Bolt here. I think, I think she's been rested. But, she's been rested 65 days. Very decent debut behind Winter Storm. A couple of winners out of that form line. Was very green, and I expect him to come on and win this. For me, the exacta horses, the 2, Give Me the Fire. No show on return to the racetrack, but I expect a better run from the son of Give Me the Green Light. And then you go to the other pick, my pick 6 banker as such is going to come in race 6, and that's a horse called Pinnacle Peak. Now this, we can call him a PE Raider. But obviously, Dory Sham has relocated up to Joburg. She's got horses in PE and up here. And this horse's form just speaks for itself. I mean, nabbed last time out behind Legal Eagle over the course and distance. In this race, I don't think there's anything can touch her. That's a fantastic price. I was looking at a few other bookmakers this afternoon before coming on air. I saw 7-2, 33-10. So if punters out there can get onto GBets now, that's what I would be telling them to have a bet on is Pinnacle Peak there. And then the other races, obviously I've said Tilbury Ford 11-2, quite good value. Nice each way value there. You get 4 places and maybe 6 at a few bookmakers and obviously the tote. But a horse I found in race 3 is a horse called Purple Diamond from the Sean Terry stable. Now this horse, as a youngster was touted as being one of the better horses in Sean's stable. Obviously there's only 7 horses in the race, so there won't be any place value. But the horse was 10-1 earlier today on a few bookmakers.
Now I've just brought up the slide again, Jason. Can have a look.
Okay, perfect. So a bit of money. I had 12-1 yesterday. I went on today. I saw 10-1. So a bit of value. This horse has been running over further, and I think the fact that Sean slapped blinkers on 2 runs ago in a good race, and then the last time out showed a bit of pace. He's just getting him used to blinkers, and I think Samanga will suit this horse. get him out early. And I think this horse, being out of VAR or being by VAR, I think this horse is going to show a lot of speed. So for me, Great Sharka and Alpine Glacier, nothing wrong with their form lines. They've earned, but Purple Diamond's been 100. He was 100 merit rating, as was Grease Paint 102. Grease Paint also shows a lot of pace, but over 1,000 meters. I think Purple Diamond dropping back to the 1,000. This could suit, and like I said, at 15-2, even still a bit of value.
Right, well, let's have a look. There's Jason's bets there. I'm just going to run through them very quickly, Jason, before I come back to you. Race 2, Mythical Bolt is a hot pot favorite at 7-20, but certainly one to add to your accumulators. Pinnacle Peak, Jason, very bullish on that one, and 9-2 looking like a cracking price. Probably not going to last come race time. Onto his value bets, you've got Purple Diamond. The money's definitely coming for this. It's into 15-2. And, of course, his Summer Cup bet as well, which is 11-2. So yeah, we got a big day's racing there, Jason, and I've got to say you're very convincing with some of your let's call it arguments or form justifications. And if I didn't have any firm views on this race beforehand, I'm a lot firmer on it now.
No, Brent, at the end of the day, tipsters, they're always on a hiding to nothing in terms of being, I don't like, the word tipster, and I know I used it, but analysts, because at the end of the day, you're right, you're world class, you're wrong, you're the biggest horse in the world, with respect. So, this is how I see it. I'll be playing those horses. I'll be putting my money down based on what I think. And I do think that in terms of value, each way value for the guys out there, I think these will hold them in good stead. But at the end of the day, too, I urge the guys to, go onto Andrew Bond's YouTube channel and have a look at what the trainers have to say, and also under starters orders on Saturday. I think, obviously leading up to the day, we're recording this on Thursday night. Something can change on a Friday. I believe in listening to the trainers and having an understanding the well-being of the horse, because as a punter, that's all you want to know. Punters out there, they like to listen, but they also make up their own minds, and all they want to know from the trainer is about the well-being and if they're trying. Obviously, there's a few prep runs here and there and all the rest, but this is a grade 1 event, Sansui Summer Cup. There's R1 million up for a horse that wins the Summer Cup, as well as the Sun Met. So, some of these horses now, like I said, that haven't really reached their peak, if they're going to show some mettle and win this, they might go on to the Sun Met. But having said that, I think the Sun Met winner won last weekend at Turfontein, 3-year-old by the name of Awam. So it's just for your followers out there, please follow that horse. Highly rated, highly regarded, algorithms through the roof, one of the top looking horses and bred horses in the country. And for me, that's where my money will be.
Excellent, Jason. It was great having you on the show. Lovely to talk with you. And we're coming into some massive feature races, as you alluded to. The Sun Met, we've got the Queen's Plate coming up. So no doubt we'll be in contact with you again over the coming weeks as well. And really looking forward to the Summer Cup. But thanks a lot, and good punting for you with your bets that you did put down.
Thanks very much, Brent, and all the best to the guys that are good for the game. They're a lovely bunch of guys. You run a fantastic website there, and I love listening and looking at the banter. I think the guys that do your previews and the other sports are fantastic. I read them a lot, and there's money to be made. Like I said, everything we do is our opinion. We'll see how the race pans out. Obviously have a look at the weather and that. And one other value bet, just while I'm thinking about it, if there's a little bit more rain, I forgot about this horse. And it's just come back to me. And it's one of those horses I followed. No, it's a horse called...
Little secret, no?
The horse called Race 12.
Race 12.
It's a horse called Kalua Castle. This horse was running with Louis the King.
I was going to say, I recognize the name, which means it's been running for a while.
It's an old horse. It's 9 years old now. But if there's a little bit of sting in the ground, if we have one more thunder shower, this horse loves a bit of cut in the ground. And at 10, 12 to 1, punters can't get hurt. So if you've lost a little bit of money throughout the day, if my selections haven't been going, have a good each way bet on Kalua Castle, race 12, number 4.
I'm quickly going to have a look at a price. I won't share my screen, but having a look at what's that race 12, eh?
Race 12, number 4, Kalua Castle.
It's sitting there at about the 13-2 mark. Jason, you talk about getting out of it in the last. I don't know if you watched the last at Turfontein on Saturday. But I was having a bit of a nightmare on the rugby at that point. Fortunately, I did pull right. But a good mate of mine, and he's pretty shrewd with the horses. He was also having a bad day. And I said to him, do you like anything in the last? And he said, I think the horse was called Railroad.
Yes.
Straight him. So I took a much bigger bet than I normally place because I was chasing.
Mm.
And I don't know if you watched that race, but Railroad came to the
did.
top of the straight towards the back of the field and pulled out the race.
Yes, no, I did watch that race, and
That's when you know things aren't going your way.
no, that's when you know you should actually just go to the pub and have a tequila, or have 2 tequilas. You've got to pretend you've got friends around you, because at that time when you've got no money and you're at the pub by yourself, you generally buy yourself. So yeah, I did watch that race. Shame, poor Railroad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, end of the day, Brent, I mean, when you come to race 12, it's at 25-8 on Saturday night.
Yes.
I don't think there's going to be a sober over 18 at Turfontein. But yeah, I do think Kalua Castle, with a little bit of rain around, could be a nice each way value.
Excellent, Jason. Thanks very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for watching. You can subscribe to our videos. We do lots of previews, especially our rugby show Thursday nights at 9 o'clock, known as The Handicap. We'll also be doing more racing previews in the future. And then you can open a GBets account. I've done a little very short video on how to open an account. Get involved with GBets ahead of Summer Cup Day. Thanks very much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you on future videos.